Hello loves, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be breaking down the new moon in Virgo that's coming up on September 7th, 2021. So we're going to be doing a spell guide, and I pulled some cards for us as well, but let us go over the astrology first. So starting with the planetary placement. So planetary positions are as follows. We have the sun will be in Virgo, the moon will be in Virgo, Mercury and Venus will be in Libra, Mars will be in Virgo, Jupiter and Saturn will be in Aquarius, both in retrograde, Uranus will be in Taurus and will be in retrograde, Neptune will be in Pisces and will be in retrograde, and Pluto will be in Capricorn and it's also in retrograde. The generational planets are completely in retrograde, with addition to Jupiter. So there's definitely a lot going on energetically because we do have a Virgo stellium. We have the sun, the moon, and Mars are all going to be in Virgo, and so you have an emphasis on Virgo energy, and it's like the energy of healing, hermiting, detachment, like analyzing is very, very, very heavy on in the chart. So let's talk about the aspects first and foremost. Okay, the sun will be in the conjunction with the moon. They are both in the same sign for this moon, so they're obviously same page. So there is a lot of support that's happening when it comes to our ego and our emotional energy. Pay attention to the energy leading up to this day, and the reason why I say that is because it's almost going to be like a crescendo type of energy. The way that this chart looks like is like, you know, something hits a peak of like a moment of peakness where it's like, oh, I need to let that go. Oh, I need to heal that. Oh, that's where I'm at with this now. It like elevates you in a certain way, and it's really important to like not dismiss the fact that that's also very present. Like it's something that it just boop, it's gonna take you up to a point where you're gonna have to make a decision about the situation at hand. And so your ego and your emotional energy are going to be in alignment with each other. So you're not gonna be fighting yourself off. You're going to be like, oh, okay, I intuitively feel, and our intuition is definitely 1000% going to be the tool of use for this specific moon, because it's going to be that moment where you're just like intuitively going with that flow and understanding what you need. And because Virgo season is about analyzing where we need healing, analyzing different situations, analyzing and hermiting and dissecting things so that way we can fix any issues that come up, it's super important for us to kind of pay attention to how things are moving leading up to this thing, okay, leading up to this crescendo, this moment where we're like, oh damn, I gotta let that go, I gotta do something about that, I gotta fix that issue. Pay attention to the direction, the signs, your gut feeling, the way your body's reacting to certain things or certain people, certain conversations. They're going to be highlighting a lot, so pay attention to those things. The sun will be in a trine with Uranus as well. And so when the sun trines Uranus specifically, that's our ego in a really beautiful aspect with Uranus, a planet of unexpected change and chaos. Okay, unexpected change, chaos, revolution, evolution. And so it brings our ego the energy of literally upgrading thyself, upgrading, making space, making room, something that if you were having issues doing during Leo season, because Leo season fixed energy, you're going to want to stay how you are and do all these things. Now during Virgo season, you might be a little bit more bendable, like moodable, that moodable energy, okay, that Virgo like moodable, changeable, going with the flow energy. You might be a little bit more inclined to actually, you know, change a couple of different things in your life, reevaluate a couple of different people in your life, reevaluate the way you've been spending your time in certain areas and certain places, certain institutions in your life. Okay, and so Uranus brings the energy of upgrading yourself, upgrading the ego, upgrading what means something to you, what you're going to continue to give your fire to. Okay, what are you going to continue to feed, like energetically? What are you going to continue to give your energy to? And trust and believe, when you wake up every day and you do a 9 to 5 at a job, you are giving your energy to that 9 to 5. So if something's no longer serving you, how are you going to upgrade yourself from the situation? And so Uranus's energy is very much present to kind of shake things up. Okay, shake things up. Why? Because your healing can't just be like, you can't just be like, I have the perfect life and then I got, you know, I don't need to heal, or yeah, I got a ton of healing to do, but I also got a perfect life. You can't, that's a contradiction. Okay, you obviously have things that you need to get in order, and this is an opportune moment to do so. Okay. Okay, so Sun will also be in an opposition to Neptune. Okay, that's our ego opposing, not on the same page with Neptune. Neptune, which literally rules spirituality, dreams, the subconscious mind, okay, creativity. To an extent, there's going to be a lot revealed during this time, because I do feel like when it comes to our ego, you might find yourself, especially with the Sun and Neptune opposition, you might find yourself, you know, reflecting on some messages from Spirit that you don't agree with. Okay, maybe you pulled some cards, maybe you asked someone to do a reading for you, maybe you were doing a healing session and you got a vision, maybe you were, I don't know, you were doing some sound healing and you got a vision, or somebody got a vision for you and they had to give you that message, and the message that you're receiving you don't agree with. It's like bothering you. It's like, wait, you're telling me that you're not agreeing with me? You're telling me my ancestors are not agreeing with me right now? You're telling me my spirit guides are in disagreement about this situation right now? You're telling me that they're not necessarily agreeing with the choices that I made at this time? That they think that there is a better direction that I could be taking at this time? There's going to be that moment, okay, that the ego goes head to head with spirit a little bit. And if you find yourself meditating or asking for any messages under this moon, you might find yourself a little bit surprised. Okay, it's kind of like when you do a reading, like a tarot reading, and you want it to be all, you know, sunshine and rainbows, but then you get read to the filth. It's giving me that energy. Like the way the chart is set up, it's giving me that energy, especially with this aspect. It's giving me ego getting called out by spirit. It's giving me spirit is not taking your bullshit. It's giving me a lot of things. Okay, it's giving me a lot of things. So yeah, the moon is also in a trine with Uranus, and this is gonna amplify that push towards evolution, because it's, again, the sun and the moon, so your ego and your emotions are going to be on the same page. Okay, they're going to be in agreement. They are working together. And so when you have just the way that they're aligning in this like beautiful, like we're in agreement, we're on the same page. When you move, I move too. We walk together. We walk in the same pace. When you have that kind of energy like show up, this is when, especially with trines, because trines are such powerful aspects, the way that the energy ends up manifesting can be very, not only emotionally cleansing and revolutionary, and actually bringing you to a different emotional experience, a different spiritual experience as well. But it can you can go through such a deep individual transformation during this time, and you can feel all of that, not only emotionally, but your ego actually going through this transformation, which is powerful time to actually focus on you, your individuality, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your life, how you feel about, you know, the things that you have in your life, the people that you have around you, the things that you give your energy to, the things that are emotionally draining or not draining. Like, those are the things that is going to highlight, and Uranus is just going to be like, what are you going to keep? What can you not keep? Because you obviously know I don't agree with it. Like, there's just like this self-evaluation. It's almost like it feels like a self-evaluation test, and you're going to have to use this energy, or the energy is going to use you. It's going to be one of those two. one of those two. The moon will also be opposed to Neptune as well. So you are going to, when the moon and Neptune oppose each other, again, this is when your intuition and your spiritual practice, you're gonna have like, this aspect itself opens up the window for you to like have gotten messages or signals or like a hint, like, hey, there's something up with this, or hey, don't trust this, or hey, this is a little off. And then when it all kind of breaks down, when it all kind of like gets to the point where you discover the full-blown truth, it's like, oh my God. It's like, oh my God, I know my intuition. It's kind of like when you're like having a conversation with someone or, you know, and then you're something about the conversation, something the person said, something tells you, I don't know, that you hear a voice or a thought comes into your head that's like, they're lying to you or something like that. But you care so much about that person that you don't want to believe that they're doing that, right? It's like that. It's like that. It's like this moment where, you know, you're like, no, they're not doing that. That's not happening. And then, you know, like a week later, you found out that they were lying to you. Like your intuition tried to tell you, but you were like fighting it. And then it gets exposed later. That's that moon in opposition to Neptune energy. And it's like this moment where we're going to have to spiritually reflect and accept the truth for what it is and actually choose to heal. That's the moment where we choose to heal. That's the moment where we emotionally can see where something is imbalanced that we actually need to go ahead and correct, whether spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever it is. But it needs to be addressed. It needs to be healed. It needs to be addressed. Okay. Now we also have a Mars will begin a trine with Saturn, and listen, this is when the mind is it's going to be like, especially when it comes to Saturn, because Saturn's a planet of restriction, time, foundation, karma, so many different things. When Mercury, the planet of the mind and consciousness and communication, trines Saturn like this, it's not that our mind is restricted, it's more that we are held to a karmic standard for the messages that we receive and what we do about it. Okay, this is that aspect that it's like, if you got a warning, if Spirit told you don't trust this person and you hung out with them anyway and they ended up robbing you, Spirit told you not to trust this person, you still did that anyway. That's a personal problem. Like you did the thing. You did that thing. So now you must face the consequences for the messages, the way that you did not process the downloads and the messages that you received, the warnings you received, the things that were conscious in your mind, that was made aware to you, because that's what Mercury energy is. You are in awareness. Okay, Mercury energy is being aware. Okay, consciousness is mainly there's different levels of consciousness. Okay, but Mercury energy is you being aware. You being aware. You have the awareness. So if you know what the truth is and you still didn't do anything about it, karma. Again, I say this all the time. Saturn's the implications that Saturn brings and the questions that Saturn's always asking is like, how did you spend your time on this earth? How did you waste your time on this earth? And if you knew better and you still did the thing, like that's that's a red flag right there. And that's that moment where you're gonna see that repercussions, that energy of restriction, that energy of frustration, and just kind of like not budging, and also being completely ripped out of the situation entirely because Saturn's not. Again, you're just wasting your time. You're choosing to waste your time. You're choosing to not address the thing. How have you been spending your time, especially if you were already warned? If you were already given those warnings, if you already had the messages, those downloads, it was conscious in your head, and you still did absolutely nothing to protect yourself, absolutely nothing to address it. You just again, there's going to be a lot of things conscious in our minds, and a lot of it is going to come through spiritually as well. I'm just saying, keep that in mind. Venus will also be in a trine with Jupiter, and Venus will also be in a square with Pluto. So with Venus trine Jupiter, do not forget that Jupiter is in retrograde right now, but there is this energy of, it's like an airiness. It's because they're both in air signs, but there's this airiness to it. There's this airiness. There is this kind of like freedom, liberation kind of energy. But because Jupiter is in retrograde, in order for you to have that balance, because it is in Libra, because Venus is a Libra, while it's not in retrograde, Jupiter is. And because Jupiter is the sign, Jupiter is a sign. Jupiter is the planet of luck, expansion, abundance. When it's in retrograde, it expands to the past. It expands things from the past. So it's that kind of that moment where things get blown out of proportion because something was unbalanced from the past. And this could be from 6 months ago to a year ago to 5 years ago to when your childhood to a past life. Okay, so it becomes a problem when something does not get addressed, and now it's like, in order for you to have access to that expansion, that luck, that opportunity, that knowledge, that travel, whatever it is, you have to expand your mind by looking backwards. You have to look backwards and look to see where there has been displeasure specifically, because Venus rules pleasure, love, pleasure, money, enjoyment. Okay, so having this connection makes it so there's certain parts of the past that haven't been properly processed and addressed. And so because Jupiter is in retrograde specifically, it's what's going to make this placement, even if it is a trine, make it feel like you can't fully enjoy it, because it is still a trauma or an experience or something that needs to be healed, that's trapped in time, in a different time period. So this is a really, really good time to do some past life work, some karmic healing, some generational trauma healing work. This is a really good time to work with your ancestors as well, and go ahead and address things that happened in the past, so then you can actually tap into Jupiter's manifestation energy, even though it's in retrograde. Okay, if you look backwards, you can benefit from the energy. It's if you don't do the thing and you try to sit here and do a manifestation, something, it's just not gonna work, because everything is in retrograde. So the generational planets are in retrograde. It means that you should be doing generational work right now. You should be doing generational work. You should be doing a lot of healing. You should be looking at your bloodline, especially because both Jupiter and Saturn is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is literally the sign that rules individuality and the collective. That includes your collective ancestors. So that's something that you should be paying attention to as well. Now, Venus will also be in a square with Pluto. When Venus squares Pluto, things can be a little bit, don't forget, a square, when the planets are in a square, that means they're fighting. They're not getting along. They're not on the same page. They're beefing. Okay, it's a fight on my block. So when Venus and Pluto are fighting, because again, Venus is the planet of love, pleasure, money. Pluto is the planet of death, transformation, the occult, the unconscious mind. It can be a little toxic, and the reason why it can be toxic is because this breeds the energy of kind of like not necessarily having the best intentions at heart, especially when it comes to your pleasure. You might feel a little bit obsessive when it comes to other people through this aspect, especially because Pluto is also, rules, in addition to Venus, but possession, but in an obsessive kind of way. Because it does rule Scorpio, and Scorpio is a fixed sign. So there is that fixed energy when it comes to Pluto, where it's just kind of like staying the kind of same kind of energy, kind of vibe. So there is this kind of possessiveness about Pluto, and when it connects to Venus energy, and it's in a square, especially when it comes to love relationships, I would take it very, very easy. I would even try not to start any fights during this time. Reason being that there is this kind of like the energy of them squaring like this can make it so certain things can kind of blow out of proportion. Certain things can be a little bit obsessive or possessive. Certain things can be a little stalkerish to some extent. It can be a little bit like a lot of things happening in the background and people actually finding a lot of pleasure in like your demise from a distance, which is why I would recommend protection work should be one of the biggest focuses. Aside from healing, protection work should be one of the biggest focuses for this moon. But there is this like thing running in the background, and again, this is giving me enemy energies, as far as it, you know, something that you cannot see that could be running in the background, attacking you from a distance or trying to attack you from a distance. So you have to be very, very careful of how you're going into hermit mode, because hermit mode is, you know, when we detach. It's like Virgo season, it's similar to Aquarius season in a way, but you have to like hermit, you have to detach so you can go ahead and, you know, figure out what it is that you need to heal and then go ahead and do that. You need to do that in a safe space. That's why you go into hermit mode. And so if you have people kind of in this kind of energy of like, oh, I find so much pleasure in just kind of like trying to see what you're doing, you haven't posted in a couple days, like what are they doing, what's going on with them, what's going on, like this kind of weird energy. And it's almost kind of like, while you might be pushed into transformation and you might actually love the transformation that you go on, for someone else the energy can manifest in a different way and they could be using it in a toxic way. So you should be protecting yourself during this time is what I would recommend. I'm just saying. Mars will also be in an opposition to Neptune, and this this is going to be that kind of moment, because Mars is a planet of action, passion, drive, war, and then Neptune being the planet of spirituality, dreams, the subconscious mind, creativity, all of these different things. But when Mars is opposing Neptune, it makes it so we don't want to act on the things that we know spiritually. And already this chart, we already talked about how, you know, there is a kind of like pushback on our intuition. There's a pushback on listening to ourselves. There's a pushback on, you know, what spirit is communicating to us. Like we don't want to accept it to be true. We don't want to accept it to be a reality. So there is this kind of like, no, like it's like a fixed energy that we're still working through. There's like, I want this to stay the same, but you're telling me there's a problem. I gotta fix that. I gotta address that, and it's not gonna feel good. So be mindful of that, because we're going to be getting a lot of downloads, but you might not want to act on it. And again, Mars is the planet of action and drive. Mars is the planet that uses your sun's energy and your the thoughts and the like experiences that you want to have, the energy itself of the sun, your energy, and Mars puts it to use. Mars says, okay, this is how you're going to put it to action. This is your game plan. This is how we're going into war. This is how we're going to make this happen. And because Mars is opposing Neptune, is almost like we want to move forward regardless of what spirit says, regardless of the downloads, regardless of, you know, the messages that are coming in. We might be getting very, very clear dreams about people in their true colors, and you might wake up and be like, I don't want to think that of them. I'm just saying. So Mars will also be in a trine with Pluto. Okay, Mars will be in a trine with Pluto. Okay, and so Mars and Pluto actually get along fairly well. But when Mars and Pluto are in the same, you know, are doing the dance together, it makes it so what's creating action where you are moving is from a state you're moving from an unconscious state. Like you're doing things in a way that it's like there are certain things that are impacting you that you don't even know that you are doing that are causing you problems. And if spirit checks you and say, hey, this behavior that you're doing is not cool and you need to stop it because it's not helping anybody, and this is not, you shouldn't be doing this, or this is toxic, it's not helping you like elevate yourself in any capacity, and then you're just like, oh, feeling offended and giving a pushback, this is when you have this energy like pushing you into that transformation energy, into that like, oh, you might have to accept a dark, deep truth about yourself. You might have to accept a dark, you know, moment of like the way that you have been moving and creating action towards your life. It's how you're gonna get checked by spirit. So yeah, pay attention to it. Pay attention to even the way that you are reacting, the way that you have been going into auto mode, where you're just kind of like automatically doing certain things. You might have to reevaluate certain behaviors, certain things about yourself and others during this time. It is, again, this specific moon is about, you're checking yourself. This is a self check desk, okay? You are taking a test and you get to say, are you okay with this? Is there something that you need to fix? Is there something that's an issue? Is there something you want to address? Is there any area of your life that you feel like you need to pay more attention to? You're going to have to answer these questions. I personally will tell you that the best kind of, you know, spiritual work to do during this time, aside from dream work, because this is going to be happening anyway, would be scripting and working with the air element, making sure, you know, your home is cleansed. This would be a really good time to bless and cleanse your home. So that way you have a good steady home foundation. Focus on protection work and focus on healing. I think healing is really the big thing for this specific moon. I think that people need to hold space to, you know, accept certain things and have, you know, a safe space to do that process. And so it's definitely needs to be a healing moment. And, you know, if you have a favorite way that you like to approach your healing routine, then, you know, do what's comfortable for you, but also be open to something new if you wanted to try, you know, like energy healing or something like that. But yeah, it's healing, it's keeping your mind cleansed, it's staying open to spirit. It's dream work as well, because we're going to be getting messages. There's going to be messages coming through, I'm just saying. Now let's look at the cards very quickly. Bottom of the deck, Strength and the Knight of Swords. Okay, so for the cards, we are getting the Ten of Swords, the Six of Cups, the Hangman, because again, we are going into hermit mode, and it's gonna be that thing that is like, oh wait, this person, I thought everything was good, I thought we were fine, I thought we were, you know, like are there issues? Is there a problem? Is there something that I need to fix? Is there? That is the question, and that's really what's coming up with it. Is there's this like moment of, you know, you have to hermit, you have to actually search for the truth, you have to, you know, take a moment of pause and reflect, because if not, there's going to be a lot of anxiety. And this is that, you know, that Mars and Pluto energy, that feeling anxious, that getting attacked out of nowhere, especially when it comes to emotionally, because we're emotionally and intuitively, and it came up in the chart. There will be messages, you will literally feel like spirit is coming for your neck. I said what I said. It's coming up the way it's coming up. Do not kill me. But spirit is going to be coming for our necks. It's happening. So this is what I'm saying. Pay attention to the subtleties of the energy as they build to that, because it's a lot. It's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. It's going to be a lot, and it feels like it's a lot, but it's something that we personally have to process, because at this point in time, some of y'all are in denial about the wounds that you're holding. And some of you think you are in a good situation when you're really, really getting abused. So, yes. We are also getting power in prayer and spirit contact, because I'm telling you, spirit is going to be very, very active during this time. So you should, you know, make yourself ready and comfortable to, you know, receive the messages, and pray to be able to have the strength to receive the messages that you're going to be getting, because they're going to be very, very in your face. You are also getting listen to your intuitive feelings and good night's sleep. Why? Because we're going to be getting a lot of messages through our dreams. That's going to be one of the ways that this is going to be activated, that things are going to be coming into our consciousness. So pay attention. This would be also a really great time to, you know, continue having a dream journal, because you're going to be able to get those messages and actually be able to dissect them a little bit better, especially like the colors and different symbolisms and stuff like that that come up on there. So yeah, that is basically this breakdown, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you guys got all the messages that you needed. I will see you in the next video. I hope that you guys have a beautiful night. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. If you want to be a channel member or a Patreon member, the links will be down below. I will see you in the next one.